let's see in detail about indirectly acting parasympathomimetics. These are also called as acetylcholinesterase inhibitors or anticholinesterases. This anticholinesterase enzyme is present in synaptic cleft and it is responsible for the rapid hydrolysis of acetylcholine. These anticholinesterases will inhibit acetylcholinesterase enzyme and prolongs the action of acetylcholine. It also increases the availability of acetylcholine at muscarinic and nicotinic sites. But these anticholinesterases have no activity on denervated organs because there is no acetylcholine release at all in case of denervated organs, whereas directly acting parasympathomimetics are very effective in case of denervation. These indirectly acting parasympathomimetics can be of two types, reversible and irreversible. These reversible inhibitors competitively inhibits this enzyme, and these reversible inhibitors resembles acetylcholine. These drugs includes physostigmine, which is of natural origin and contains tertiary amine, neostigmine, pyridostigmine, rivastigmine and edrophonium are of synthetic origin and these contains quaternary amine. Coming to the mechanism of action, these ACE inhibitors will bind with anionic and esteratic sites of acetylcholinesterase by electrostatic force of attraction and they will form a complex. This inhibitor and enzyme complex is readily hydrolyzable when compared with acetylcholine and enzyme complex. Therefore, this complex will be hydrolyzed and acetylcholine will be left free, which will cause temporary inhibition of hydrolysis of acetylcholine and duration of action will be increased. Coming to the edrophonium, it has 10 minutes of duration of action because it forms complex only at anionic site, whereas the remaining will form complex at both anionic and esteratic sites. Whereas this edrophonium and acetylcholinesterase complex will be eliminated by kidney. Now coming to know about physostigmine. It is obtained from the seeds of Physostigma venenosum and it is too toxic for systemic use and it is a tertiary amine. Also lipid soluble. As it is lipid soluble, it crosses blood-brain barrier. It also has better absorption in other organs. It has muscarinic effects, whereas nicotinic effects are very negligible, that too at N-nicotinic receptor. The therapeutic uses of physostigmine are, it can be used for ophthalmic use in the case of mydriasis, and it can be used to treat open angle glaucoma and it prevents adhesion between pupil and lens. All these uses are same as that of pilocarpine, but this is potent when compared with pilocarpine, but it's not very much used as it is toxic and poorly tolerated in patients. So it is rarely used and it is not available in India. It is available in USA in the name Eserin in the concentration of 0.25 to 0.5%. Generally, 0.5% pilocarpine is used in glaucoma. When pilocarpine is not effective, then only we can use physostigmine. And this physostigmine is also specific antidote for belladonna poisoning and some anticholinergic drugs poisoning also. Examples include tricyclic antidepressants. Coming to the glaucoma treatment, in the closed angle glaucoma, by instilling the drops of physostigmine, it will cause pupillary constriction, thereby decreasing the intraocular pressure. When the intraocular pressure is decreased, then glaucoma can be managed. In the wide angle glaucoma, it will cause contraction of longitudinal ciliary muscles. By this contraction, tubules will be opened from where the drainage of aqueous humor will take place. When the drainage of aqueous humor takes place, generally there will be decrease in intraocular pressure. As physostigmine is tertiary amine and crosses blood-brain barrier, it will antagonize the central and peripheral effects of the toxins. And in case of poisoning, in case of belladonna poisoning or anticholinergic drugs poisoning, generally 0.5 to 1 mg intramuscular. It is given intramuscularly in the dose of 0.5 to 1 mg and initial dose will be given this much for the diagnosis whether the poisoning is taken place due to atropine or not. For the diagnosis of that, we will be using in these doses. So if the poisoning is due to atropine, then parasympathetic effects are not observed after giving this dose. If the parasympathetic effects are not observed, then it is confirmed that the poisoning is due to atropine. After that, 2 mg intravenous or intramuscular administration is given for the treatment. The parenteral dosage form is available in USA in the concentration of 1 mg per ml injection. Coming to the therapeutic uses of synthetic compounds such as pyridiostigemin, rivastigemin and edrophonium, they are useful in the treatment of myasthenia gravis in the dose of 15 to 30 mg neostigemin and 60 mg pyridiostigemin is used twice a day orally. And for the treatment of paralytic ileus and atonia of bladder, neostigemin is used in the dose of 0.5 to 1 mg. In glaucoma, demacarium is used in the concentration of 0.25 to 0.5% solution. And it is also used to treat post-operative decurarization. That means there is a drug called D-tubocurarine which is used for the anesthesia in some operations. Sometimes it may cause toxicity. In such cases also, these drugs can be used. These synthetic anticholinergics can be used. These are also used in case of snake bite. In the snake bite, neostigemin 0.5 to 1 mg intravenously given and edrophonium 10 mg IV along with atropine. These two drugs are given. In atrial tachycardia and supraventricular tachycardia also these drugs are used, but edrophonium is preferred. These days calcium channel blockers are commonly used, so edrophonium is also not much used. The adverse reactions include all these muscarinic effects are common for all the parasympathetic mimetics like salivation, sweating, lacrimation, nausea and vomiting, whereas the nicotinic side effects are muscle fasciculations, muscle weakness and tremors. If these adverse reactions become prominent, then the patients are treated with atropine in the dose of 0.5 mg subcutaneously. Sometimes this atropine treatment is also not required because the patients may develop tolerance. Coming to the irreversible inhibitors of acetylcholinesterase, mostly they are of two types, organophosphates and carbamates. Organophosphates include isoflurosphate, ecothiopate, parathione and malathione. Carbamates includes propaxar and carbaryl. The drug will be bind with acetylcholinesterase enzyme. After the drug binds with this enzyme, this drug will have labile groups. The labile groups can be either fluoride or organic group. That labile group will be released and the remaining part of the drug will be attached to the acetylcholinesterase enzyme. This remaining part will be attached to esteratic sites of acetylcholinesterase enzyme covalently through phosphorus. So by forming this bond, this enzyme will be inactive and a very stable complex will be formed, as the complex will be formed with the help of covalent bond. Whereas ecothiopate will be bound only with the anionic site, therefore it will cause some slow hydrolysis. Therefore we can say that ecothiopate is longer acting, but it cannot be called as strictly irreversible. So it is just longer acting ecothiopate. Coming to the therapeutic uses of these irreversible anticholinesterases, ecothiopate it contains quaternary amine group, and so it cannot cross blood-brain barrier, and the local irritancy for this substance is absent. Therefore, it can be used in ophthalmic use as miotic or in the treatment of glaucoma. It is not available in India due to some toxic effects. And carbaryl, it has low toxicity from dermal absorption. Therefore, it can be used for the control of head lice. Therefore, it is used to make medicated shampoos. So, carbaryl is used as anti-lice agent in medicated shampoos. And the adverse reactions include muscarinic effects, as I already said earlier, like lacrimation, sweating, salivation, etc. And nicotinic effects include fasciculations, muscle pain, muscle weakness. The CNS side effects include ataxia. There is impairment of coordination, restlessness, tremors, convulsions and respiratory arrest. Due to the overusage of organophosphorus drugs, organophosphorus poisoning may be caused. It may occur due to occupational, operational or suicidal reasons. This organophosphorus poisoning can be treated with the help of anticholinesterase reactivating drugs along with atropine. This atropine is used to counteract muscarinic and central side effects, and these acetylcholinesterase reactivating drugs include palidoxime, obidoxime, diacetyl monoxime. These drugs will bind with the anionic sites of phosphorylated enzyme. So when these drugs bind, these have an oxime group. This oxime group will be in proximity with the esteratic sites of phosphate group, and this oxime phosphate complex So this oxime group will be in proximity with the esteratic site of phosphate group, and it will attract this phosphate group. So this oxime will bind with phosphorylated enzyme, and it will attract the phosphate from that complex. As the phosphate group is removed from the complex, the enzyme will be left free, and this oxime phosphate complex will be diffuses out. And there is a phenomenon called aging which takes place. During aging, the phosphate and enzyme complex will be completely molecularly rearranged, and it will be completely resistant to the hydrolysis. So if this aging happens, then reactivation cannot be achieved with the use of these drugs, pralidoxime, obidoxime, and diacetyl monoxime. And these drugs also cannot cross blood-brain barrier, so reactivation cannot occur in brain. If we want to cause reactivation in the brain, then diacetyl monoxime can be used, as it crosses BBB, and atropine can be used in the dose of 2 mg intravenously for every 10 to 15 minutes. And after the muscarinic symptoms disappear, then pralidoxime in the dose of 1 to 2 grams IV infusion can be given.